At 11:40 p.m. on April 14, 1912, a lookout named Frederick Fleet spotted something in the darkness ahead. He had seconds to act. What happened in the next 2 hours and 40 minutes would kill over 1,500 people. Humble an empire's confidence in its own technology and become one of the most studied disasters in maritime history. How did the largest, most advanced ship ever built sink on its very first voyage? And why did so many have to die for the world to learn its lesson? This is the story of the RMS Titanic, the ship the world called Unsinkable. Built by the White Star Line, she was the largest moving object ever constructed by human hands, a floating monument to steel, wealth, and the confidence of a new industrial age. In April 1912, she set sail from Southampton, England, bound for New York City, carrying over 2,200 passengers and crew. 5 days later, she would rest at the bottom of the North Atlantic. This is not just the story of a shipwreck. It is a story about human error, class divisions, missed warnings, and the terrifying gap between what we believe we can control and what nature can still take away. The early 1900s were an era obsessed with progress. Steel, steam, and electricity were reshaping daily life. Nations competed for prestige on the high seas, and shipping companies raced to build vessels that were faster, grander, and more luxurious than anything before. The White Star Line wanted a ship that would not just cross the Atlantic, it would redefine travel itself. Titanic was built with 16 watertight compartments, a design so advanced that a shipbuilding trade magazine had once called similar ships practically unsinkable. That single word would haunt history. Aboard Titanic were people from every walk of life. In first class traveled some of the wealthiest individuals in the world, including businessman John Jacob Astor IV and department store owner Isidor Straus. In second class were middle-class families, teachers, and clergy. And in third class were hundreds of immigrants from Ireland, Scandinavia, and Eastern Europe, chasing the promise of a new life in America. Captain Edward Smith, a veteran of the seas with over 40 years of experience, commanded the ship on what was planned to be his final voyage before retirement. Nearly 900 crew members worked below decks, largely unseen, keeping the ship running. Titanic departed Southampton on April 10th, stopping briefly in Cherbourg, France and Queenstown, Ireland, to take on additional passengers. By the time she turned west into the open Atlantic, she carried roughly 2,224 people. The voyage began smoothly. Passengers dined in opulent restaurants, strolled the promenade decks, and marveled at the ship's electric lights and modern conveniences. Few had any reason to worry. The North Atlantic route in April, however, was known to shipping companies for one persistent danger: drifting sea ice from Greenland's glaciers, carried south by ocean currents. Beginning on April 14, Titanic's wireless operators began receiving ice warnings from other ships in the area. The steamer Caronia reported icebergs and ice fields directly in Titanic's path. Later that day, the Baltic sent a similar warning. These messages were passed along to the bridge. But in the culture of transatlantic travel at the time, ice warnings were common and rarely caused ships to slow down. Speed was a point of pride. Reducing it meant delay, and delay meant disappointing passengers eager to arrive in New York on schedule. As night fell, more messages arrived. The Californian, a ship just miles away, radioed that it was surrounded by ice and had stopped for the night. But Titanic's radio room was overwhelmed with a backlog of personal messages from wealthy passengers eager to send updates to friends and family. At 11 p.m., the Californian's radio operator tried once more to warn Titanic, only to be curtly told by Titanic's operator to stop interrupting since he was busy transmitting to a relay station. Minutes later, the Californian's radio operator shut down his equipment for the night and went to sleep. Titanic sailed on into the darkness at nearly 22 knots, close to full speed. At 11:40 p.m., lookout Frederick Fleet, stationed in the crow's nest without binoculars, spotted a dark shape rising from the sea ahead. He rang the warning bell 3 times and telephoned the bridge with an urgent message. "Iceberg, right ahead." First Officer William Murdoch ordered the engines reversed and the ship turned sharply. But Titanic was over 880 feet long and weighed more than 46,000 tons. There was no time. The iceberg scraped along the starboard side of the hull, below the waterline, for about 10 seconds. Most passengers felt only a faint shudder. Few realized anything serious had happened. Within minutes, Titanic's designer, Thomas Andrews, inspected the damage alongside Captain Smith. The iceberg had breached 5 of the ship's 16 watertight compartments. Andrews delivered devastating news. The ship could survive damage to 4 compartments, but not 5. Titanic, he calculated, had perhaps an hour and a half left before she would sink. At 12:05 a.m., Captain Smith gave the order to uncover the lifeboats and wake the passengers. But Titanic carried only 20 lifeboats, enough for roughly 1,178 people, far short of the more than 2,200 aboard. This was legal under outdated maritime regulations, which based lifeboat requirements on a ship's tonnage, rather than the number of passengers it carried. Many passengers, especially those in third class, faced confusing corridors, locked gates, and crew members unfamiliar with emergency procedures. The order given was women and children first, a policy strictly enforced on the port side and loosely enforced on the starboard side, leading to uneven survival outcomes. Some lifeboats were lowered only half full, as crew members underestimated the danger or misunderstood instructions. The ship's band, according to numerous survivor accounts, continued playing music on deck in an effort to maintain calm. At 2:05 a.m., the last lifeboat was lowered. More than 1,500 people remained aboard a ship now tilting dramatically toward the sea. At 2:20 a.m. on April 15th, Titanic broke apart and disappeared beneath the surface of the North Atlantic. Hundreds of people were left in water measured at approximately 28 degrees Fahrenheit, cold enough to cause fatal hypothermia within minutes. Nearby, the Carpathia, a Cunard Line steamer, had received Titanic's distress signal roughly an hour earlier and raced through the same ice field at significant risk to reach survivors. The Californian, still just miles away, did not respond in time. Carpathia arrived around 4 a.m. and spent hours pulling roughly 705 survivors from lifeboats scattered across the dark water. In total, more than 1,500 people lost their lives that night. Within days, both the United States Senate and the British Board of Trade launched formal inquiries. Survivors, crew members, and White Star Line officials were called to testify. The investigation sought to answer painful questions. Why did Titanic carry so few lifeboats? Why were ice warnings ignored? Why did the Californian, so close by, fail to respond to distress rockets fired from Titanic's deck? Testimony revealed that Californian crew members had seen flares in the distance but misjudged their meaning, believing they were not signals of distress. Investigators concluded that Titanic had been traveling too fast for the known ice conditions, that lifeboat regulations were dangerously outdated, and that wireless communication protocols had failed at a critical moment. It was also revealed that the ship's builders had considered installing a higher number of lifeboats, but decided against it, in part because deck space was reserved for passenger promenades. The disaster exposed how commercial priorities and public confidence in new technology had outpaced basic safety planning. In 1985, decades later, oceanographer Robert Ballard located the wreck of Titanic nearly 12,500 feet beneath the surface, finally allowing historians to study the ship's actual condition and confirm many long-debated details of that night. In the aftermath, the International Convention for the Safety of Life at Sea, known as SOLAS, was established in 1914. It mandated that ships carry enough lifeboats for every person aboard, maintain 24-hour radio watch, and follow standardized ice patrol reporting. The International Ice Patrol was created that same year and continues to monitor iceberg activity in the North Atlantic to this day. Titanic's story also became a permanent part of popular culture, studied in books, documentaries, and films for over a century, ensuring that the names and experiences of those aboard would not be forgotten. The sinking of Titanic teaches us that confidence in technology should never replace caution, preparation, and respect for nature's power. It reminds us how easily warnings can be dismissed when convenience, pride, or profit are placed above safety. And it shows how quickly outdated assumptions, like calculating lifeboats by tonnage instead of head count, can turn a manageable risk into a tragedy. Ask yourself, how many modern systems today still rely on assumptions we haven't tested against real-world consequences? More than 1,500 men, women, and children died in the early hours of April 15, 1912. They were parents, immigrants, crew members, and dreamers, each with a story that ended far too soon. Titanic's legacy is not simply that she sank, but that her loss forced the world to rebuild its approach to safety at sea, saving countless lives in the centuries since. The unsinkable ship reminded humanity of something timeless. No achievement, no matter how impressive, is beyond the reach of nature or human error. If you found this story as haunting and important as we did, consider subscribing for more documentary-style deep dives into history's most defining moments. And share this video with someone who should hear this story too.